in the past. And I came across a quote by Winston Churchill, and he was considered a pretty successful prime minister during a very difficult time. It was a war, it wasn't a pandemic. But one of the funny quotes that I came across was that he attributed his success to uh, being very careful with his time and learning to rest as often as possible. So the never stand up when you sit down, never sit down when you can lie down. So I thought that would be a really nice way to address our practice today. I'll be doing lots of different variations of postures, but I also want to add in a lot of child's poses and restful postures to give us a chance to slow down, rest, uh, take a moment to let go, and figure out how we can get rid of some of that extra tension that might be there. So that's it. Let's get started, and I hope you guys enjoy it. All right, so we're going to start standing at first, and we're going to come to the ground pretty quickly. So take your feet up about hips distance apart, come to the top of your mat. Make sure your blocks are at the top of your mat. And then spread your toes out. And from here, we're going to go for some basic forward bend, backward bend type postures. So we're going to take the arms up on the inhale. Interlace the fingers and press the palms of the hands toward the sky. So you're going to pull your pinky fingers down and press the first finger up toward the sky. Drop your shoulders. You should feel your shoulders starting to externally rotate here. As you do this, your front ribs tend to punch out a little bit, so pull the front ribs in, and that's using your transverse abdominals. Then lift up nice and tall and stretch over to your right-hand side. So with that thought of letting go, really be with your breath right now. Breathe into the sides of the rib cage, breathe into the back of the rib cage. And then come up on the inhale and go to the left-hand side. And I love this stretch for the beginning of the practice because we often don't realize how much tension there is in those intercostal muscles that connect the rib cage to the hips. Come up on the inhale and then release the arms. Do a couple big shoulder rolls and just take a moment to relax in the shoulders, dropping them. Go both directions on the shoulder rolls. All right, we're going to go for a back bend here. So it's a pretty tiny back bend. Bring your hands to your hips, just above your hip bones, and then lift your heart, and then lift your heart, and then lift your heart. So it's not a huge back bend. You're opening up your chest and lifting your chest toward the ceiling. Imagine you have strings coming out of your collarbones, lifting up toward the ceiling, and then zip up your belly and pull your front ribs in, and squeeze your elbows toward each other. So you're really trying to create a back bend in your upper back, not in your low back, which is why your hands are at your low back to help support it and keep it nice and long. All right, inhale, come on up. Take the arms up and interlace your fingers again. And then lift and bend the knees and stretch forward. So you're going to come to about halfway. Reach your heart forward. Reach your tailbone back. Zip up your low belly. Squeeze your legs into the midline. As you squeeze your legs into the midline, notice how your hips widen a bit. You should feel a nice stretch across the hips. All right, we're going to go ahead and relax and then grab your elbows, hang there, and press the top forearm into the bottom forearm. Keep squeezing your legs into midline, but swing gently from side to side. And from here, let's come into a child's pose first and just see if there's any tension already that we may have started our practice with. So step back, find a child's pose, press back. Often I say press forward into the mat to get your hips back towards your heels and start with that, but then we're going to relax a little bit and not be so active in the child's pose.
So start pressing forward into the mat, forehead to the ground. Now take your arms back behind you and just hang there for a moment. All right, bring your hands underneath your shoulders, come to all fours, and then claw the ground, squeeze your legs into the midline, squeeze your arms into the midline. Inhale, lengthen out, press your toenails into the ground. Exhale, round the back. Inhale, lengthen. And exhale, round. And go with your own breath. Do about 2 more of these. All right, we're gonna get a little shoulder stretch in here. So you're gonna keep your right hand planted on the ground and you're gonna take your left arm behind your right arm. So we call this threading the needle. And then you're gonna bring your left shoulder to the ground and the left side of your head. So this right hand is really important. Press down into the ground with the right hand. That's gonna help roll your right shoulder onto your back. Also press your toes into the ground, your toenails into the ground, and you'll start feeling a stretch through the fascia of your back. Keep breathing here. Big inhales, big exhales. There are some variations that are really lovely, but you just need to decide where you can let go and relax. So if it's too much effort to go into the posture, it's probably not serving you right now. So the simple posture is pressing right hand to the ground, just noticing the stretch happening slowly and organically through the back. If you want to go a little bit deeper, then you can reach through your legs with your left hand. I like the variation where I reach to the outside of my right leg with my left hand and see if I can grab any part of my right leg. So maybe right calf, maybe right ankle, and then press into that right hand and maybe roll onto the back of your head a little bit more and look up toward the ceiling. Again, that right hand can be really important for stabilizing you and making sure you don't put a lot of weight in your neck. If you feel like your neck is pretty strong, you feel pretty comfortable, you can take this into a deeper posture, take that right arm up, reach it around and see if you can grab the inside of your left hip or a piece of clothing on the left side. So it is a nice shoulder opener, but it may be too much for your neck. So test that out, see how you feel. Don't forget to breathe. All right, then you're going to move that right hand back to the ground if you removed it. Press into the ground, come back up to all fours. And let's go for the other side. So take that right arm behind your left arm. Bring your right shoulder to the ground and the right side of your head. Press into the ground with your left hand. And again, this is fantastic. You can breathe right here. Slowly roll the left shoulder onto your back. Gently press your toenails toward the ground. Deep breaths here. Big inhales, big exhales. If you feel like you want to go a little deeper, you can reach between your legs or down the outside of your left leg. Continue to press into the ground with your left hand. You might be able to roll onto the back of your head a little bit and look up toward the ceiling. Keep those breaths strong. Just notice all that tension in the back that you're slowly releasing. Again, if it seems appropriate, you can take that left arm up and bring it around and grab your inner right thigh or a piece of clothing on your right side. Remember to breathe. And if you can't breathe, you're definitely putting in too much effort. You should back off a little bit. All right, slowly unwind. Press that left hand into the ground. Come back to all fours. And we're going to do one more for the shoulders, and then we'll come back to standing slowly. So if you have 2 blocks, this is a great idea to use 2 blocks, but you can do this posture without blocks. So 2 blocks, about shoulder distance apart. And you're going to take the backs of your arms to the blocks and clasp your hands together. And then, so the triceps of your arms should be on the blocks, elbows up at the tops of the blocks. And then drop your head. And then you can experiment a little bit with this one, because as you move your fist around, you're going to find different parts of your shoulder are differing in levels of tightness. So you may want to take your fist forward, take some breaths there. You can also point your fist toward the ceiling, the sky. Take some breaths there, and you can also bring your fist to your back. If you don't have blocks, the blocks are simply a variation of heart melting pose or Anahatasana. So you can bring the arms to the ground, forehead or chin to the ground, and press gently into the ground with your hands so that your arm muscles are lifting up a little bit against your arm bones. Melt your heart toward the ground. So imagine you have a smooth stone on your upper back and then it's melting down. See if that chest will come down a little closer to the ground. All right, gently press your arms down, come back to all fours, move those blocks to the side if you're using them, and then flip your toes over and find a downward dog. And then walk your down dog out. Press one heel down, press the other heel down. So down dog, it's considered a resting pose, but if you have tight hamstrings, it's not a resting pose. So if your hamstrings are tight and you feel like you've got a ton of weight in your shoulders, bend your knees generously. Lift your hips toward the sky. We're trying to get the spine nice and long, so your ears should be in line with your arms. And you really should feel like you have a long line from your fingertips to your hips. So no rounding around your upper back here. Gently press your chest toward your toes. Keep lifting your arm muscles up against your arm bones. Press down into your thumb and first finger areas. So try to get some more weight into your inner hand. And then keep rolling your armpits toward each other. All right, look up, inhale, step forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come all the way up to the sky. And exhale, arms to the sides. All right, we're gonna do sun salutation C. It's a little bit more chilled out sun salutation. And that way you can figure out how to relax a little bit more in these postures. So take the arms up on the inhale and look up toward the thumbs. Exhale, fold. Inhale, stretch forward and look forward. Exhale, step your left leg back. Drop your back knee. Take the arms up on the inhale. And big exhale. Take the hands down to the ground, step back. Lift your left leg toward the sky. So take about 5 breaths here. Roll your inner left thigh toward the sky. Pull your left pinky toe toward your face. See if you can get a little bit of a lift in your right hip crease. So your right leg is doing some work too. Gently dropping the right heel and lifting the right hip crease. You can still have a micro bend in that right knee if you're a little tight in the hamstrings. Relax your neck. Make sure you're not putting that tension into your shoulders. Look up on your next exhale. Bring that left knee into your chest and step it forward. And then drop your back knee. Now take the arms up on the inhale. Take another breath here. Drop your shoulders. And big exhale. Take the hands down to the ground. Lift your back knee up and step your right leg forward. Inhale, stretch your spine forward. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Inhale, come all the way up. And exhale, fold forward again. Inhale, stretch forward. Exhale, right leg back. Drop your back knee. Take the arms up on the inhale. And on your next exhale, take the hands down to the ground. Step back. Lift your right leg toward the sky. Again, square up the hips. Roll the inner right thigh toward the sky. Drop your left heel a little bit and see if you can lift your left hip crease up a little bit. Lift your arm muscles up against your arm bones. Relax your neck. Maybe gently shake out your head and nod your head. And big exhale. Take that right knee forward, step your right foot forward, drop your back leg. Inhale, come on up. Take one more big breath, drop your shoulders. And big exhale. Take the hands down on the ground, step your left leg forward. Inhale, stretch forward. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Inhale, come all the way up. And exhale, arms to the sides. Let's do it again. Take the arms up on the inhale, look up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, stretch forward. Exhale, step your left leg back. Drop your back knee. All right, let's add in some shoulders. Interlace the fingers behind your back and gently drop those shoulders down your back. So you might want to stretch your fists down, but not so necessary. It's more the shoulders you want to relax down. And exhale. Take the hands down to the ground. Step your right leg back. Lift your left leg toward the sky. And then open up the hip and bend the knee. So I call this dog at a fire hydrant. Once you're here, make sure your shoulders are level. So get a little bit of a lift under your right armpit. And again, check in with your neck. Make sure your neck feels long and relaxed. And look up. Bring that left knee forward. Drop your back knee. Take the arms up on the inhale. This time, bring your hands to the back of your head. So we're going to create just a little bit more back bend in your upper back. Press your head back into your hands and scoop up under your head with your hands. You're lifting your head, lifting your skull with your hands. Pull the belly in, pull the front ribs in. And then drop your elbows a little bit. And exhale. Take the hands down the ground. Lift your back knee up. Inhale, step your right leg forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come all the way up. And exhale, fold forward. Inhale, stretch forward. Exhale, right leg back. Drop your back knee. All right, interlace your fingers again and go for the non-dominant grip this time. Put the other thumb and first finger on top, and then you can press your fist forward into your hips and pull your elbows toward each other. You can also drop your fist a little bit. Either way, make sure your shoulders are dropping down your back. Pull the front ribs in a little bit. Zip up your low belly. Keep relaxing your shoulders down. And big exhale. Take the hands down to the ground, step back. Lift your right leg toward the sky. Open up the hip and bend the knee. Press your right heel toward your left hip and lift that right knee. And then get a little lift under your left armpit so your shoulders are level. Remember those deep breaths here. On your next exhale, bring that right knee forward. Drop your back knee. Take the hands behind your head again. Scoop up behind your head, like underneath your skull. And then press your head back into your hands and keep scooping up under your skull. And then slowly drop your elbows. Just a tiny bit. Open up the shoulders a little bit more. Drop your shoulders. And exhale. Take the hands down to the ground. Lift your back knee up. Step your left leg forward. Inhale, stretch forward. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Inhale, come all the way up. Exhale, arms to the sides. All right, let's take another variation of this. Take the arms up on the inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, stretch forward. Exhale, step your left leg back. Drop your back knee. All right, we're going to go for a twist. So you're going to bring your right hand to your thigh, left arm up, and stretch over to your right hand side. So get that nice length between your left hip and your left rib cage. And look up towards your left hand so you have a nice neutral curve in your neck. Breathe deeply, zip up the low belly. All right, let's go for the twist. So you're going to take your left arm to the outside of your right leg. Take a moment and lift your rib cage up, and then twist it to the right a little bit more. So wherever that left arm ends up is great. Bring your hands together. You may find that your hands are way off on the right side of your chest. See if you can get them a little closer to the center. Now Lengthen your spine. Press your hips back and your heart forward. Flip your back toes over, and then you can experiment with that back leg. Press into the ball of your back foot and see if you can get your back knee off the ground. And then if you do end up being able to get that left leg straighter, that's great. It's going to be a bigger stretch through the outer right hip, so it may not straighten up completely. And then breathe deeply, and if it feels appropriate, look over your right shoulder. So your rib cage is on your thigh most likely, but it shouldn't be resting. So lift a little bit through those transverse abdominals. If you want to go a little bit deeper here, you can extend your arms out. That's a little bit tougher. Keep breathing. If you cannot breathe, you're exerting too much effort. All right, exhale, hands down to the ground. Step your left leg back. Lift your left leg toward the sky. Open up the hip again, so you're in this dog at a fire hydrant posture. And we're going to try to flip our dog. So if you want to stay here, do so. Stay here. If you'd like to flip your dog into a back bend, lift your right heel up high. Turn your right toes to the left. Bend your right leg a little bit, and then try to bring that left leg over. And then look at your left hand. And then if you want to add a little extra back bend in, you can bring that left hand to the back of your head. Press your head back into your hand again. All right, and then flip it back over again. Look up on your exhale, lunge your left leg forward, drop your back knee. All right, take a moment to just rest here. So you're in your lunge. You may want your block. Put your forearms on your block. If you want to come down a little deeper and bring your forearms to the ground, you can do that as well. Take a moment to lengthen your spine, reach your heart forward, and take some big, deep breaths. The main thing about this is you actually have a lot of options with this left knee. Some people are a little tight through the groin and they need to have their knee kind of swing out a little bit to the left. As long as you feel like you're not pinching in your inner left hip, then that left knee, essentially left knee right over the ankle. So do your best to do that. Take a couple more deep breaths. All right, and from here, take a moment and lift that back knee up. On your inhale, step forward. Exhale, hinge at the hips and fold. Inhale, come all the way up to the sky. And exhale, fold forward. Inhale, stretch forward. Exhale, step your right leg back, drop your back knee. All right, bring your hands to your left thigh, and we're going to go for the stretch and the twist to the left side. So take that right arm up, stretch over to your left-hand side. Big breaths. Look up toward your right hand, so you have a nice neutral curve in your neck. All right, add in that twist. Take the right arm to the outside of the left leg. Lift your belly and ribcage up, twist to your left. Bring your hands together. See if you can get your hands to the center of your chest and off the left side of your chest. Flip your back toes over. Lengthen out your tailbone and your spine. See if you can get your spine a little bit longer. And then press into the ball of your back foot and see if you can get your back knee up. Big breathing. Same thing here. If you feel like you're not exerting enough energy, you can extend your arms. But if you cannot breathe comfortably, you're definitely exerting too much energy. All right, and bring your hands down, step back, lift your right leg toward the sky, open up the hip, bend the knee, left shoulder's going to lift up a little bit so your shoulders are level, and you can stay here. So this is a great place to hang out. If you want to try to flip this into a back bend, take a moment to experiment, lift your left heel up, turn your left toes to the right, bend your left leg a little bit. That right leg's going to feel heavy. See if you can let it come over. And then you're going to look at your right hand and breathe. And then if it feels appropriate, take that right hand to the back of your head and gently push your head against your hand. that go. When you're ready, lunge your right leg forward. Drop your back knee. And then same thing here. You can stay up pretty high if you're tight. Try to get your right knee roughly over your ankle. And then if you want to come down to a block or lower, go ahead and do that. Just try to make sure your spine is long, your collarbones are reaching forward. Breathe deeply. All right, and then bring your hands down to the ground. Lift your back knee up. On your inhale, step forward. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Inhale, come all the way to the sky. Exhale, arms to the sides. Let's do another variation. Take the arms up on the inhale, look up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, stretch forward. Exhale, step your left leg back. Drop your back knee. All right, so coming up from here, we're going to do a slight variation where you're going to turn to the side. So your right knee is over your ankle and come down for just a moment. You can come down to your blocks or down to the ground with your hands come down. Then you're going to swing that left foot in. So my left foot swings in. So my right foot is pointing forward toward the short end of my mat and my left foot's pointing off to the right. And then I'm going to turn to the left and bring my hands to the hips. So from here, start walking your foot out so that your right leg is roughly straight, right toes pointing up, right knee pointing up. Bring your right hand to your thigh, take your left arm up, and then stretch over to your right hand side. The trick with this posture is to get your spine longer and to lift more through the right rib cage. So as you get your spine longer, as you're able to lengthen through your right rib cage, you may be able to slide that right hand down the leg a little bit. And eventually, someday, you grab that foot. Someday, you grab the foot with both hands. This is early in the morning for us, so most of us are not that loose right now. All right, take your hands down to your blocks or down to the ground, and we're going to step back and lift your left leg toward the sky. Relax the neck. Make sure you're not holding all your tension in your shoulders. And look up, bring that left knee forward into your chest and step it forward. Drop your back knee. And we're going to do an open twist here. So your right hand can be on the ground or you can put your right hand on a block. Turn your left toes out to the left. Bring your left hand to your thigh and twist and look over your left shoulder. So the trick here is as you look over your left shoulder, your right shoulder is going to start rolling in. So roll that right shoulder onto your back. Be very aware of it. And this is a great posture right here. If you'd like to add in a little bit extra, then you can bend your back knee and drag your right knee forward. You can also reach back with your left arm. So let's say that your quads are really tight and you can't bend your knee. Reaching back is a great way to just open up those shoulders. Eventually, someday, with a lot of practice, you grab your foot with your left hand. But continue to roll that right shoulder onto your back. All right, unwind, face forward, lift that back foot up or back knee up and step forward. Inhale, stretch your heart forward. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Inhale, come all the way up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, stretch forward. Exhale, step your right leg back. Drop your back knee. Bring your hands to your thigh. Okay, so we're going to do that gate pose again. So you're going to take that right foot and turn the right foot to the left. So your left foot's pointing to 12 o'clock and your right foot is pointing to 9 o'clock. Then turn to your right and then straighten up that left leg. Bring your left hand to your thigh, take your right arm up, and then reach over to the left-hand side. So keep lifting your spine and lifting your left side, and slowly you may be able to start sliding down that left leg a little bit.
Maybe look up toward your right hand. Keep pressing into your right shin. And this is a fantastic posture, but it really does differ depending on what time of day it is. So we're practicing at 5:30 in the morning right now. Most of us are pretty tight through some of those really big areas like the psoas and the oblique abdominals. So if this were 6 o'clock at night, you'd be going a little bit deeper into this posture. All right, come on up, and you're going to turn forward again, and then step back and lift your right leg toward the sky. So take a nice big breath here, or 4. Relax the neck. Again, find those places where you can relax. And look up, lunge your right leg forward, drop your back knee. You're going to go for the twist. So plant your left hand below your left shoulder. You might want to block under your left shoulder. Turn your right toes out to the right. Bring your right hand to your thigh, roll your right shoulder onto your back, and then roll your left shoulder onto your back. And look over your right shoulder. If you feel like this is enough, stay here. If you'd like to add in a little bit more shoulder opener, reach that right arm back, but keep rolling your left shoulder onto your back as well. If you can bend that back leg, do so. And then maybe grab your back foot. Big breaths here. And release your hands down the ground. Turn everything forward. Lift your back knee up and inhale. Step your left leg forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come all the way up. And exhale, arms to the sides. All right, so take a big step back with your right foot and turn to the side. The outer edges of your feet should be parallel to the short edges of your mat. And if you take your arms out to the sides, your wrist should roughly be over your ankles. So take a moment and just eyeball it. See if your ankles are over your wrists. You want a pretty wide stance here. And then bring your hands to your hips. Lift your heart on the inhale, and then exhale, forward bend. So from here, you're going to bring your hands to the ground. If you're tight, again, in the hamstrings, bring your hands to a block. From here, press forward into the block or press forward into the ground. Lengthen your heart forward and squeeze your inner thighs together. And then as you exhale, relax. Inhale, lengthen forward. Squeeze your inner thighs together. Exhale, relax. Check in with your feet. You should have weight in your front heels, inner heels, and outer heels, but you shouldn't be sinking into your back heels. If you sink into your back heels, you tend to put some stress into the backs of the knees. So if you feel stress in your knees, bring your weight forward a little bit more, tighten up the tops of your thighs a little bit more, and even squeeze your inner thighs into the midline even more. All right, inhale, come up about halfway. We're going to go for a twist now. So again, if you have a block underneath your head, you can plant your left hand on the block and bring your right hand to your low back and sacrum. The reason why your hand is on your low back and sacrum is you want to make sure your hips are level right here. So if they're not level, if one hip is popping up a little bit more than the other, readjust, squeeze into the midline, find that weight in the inner heel, front heel, and outer heel. And then once you have your weight evenly distributed and your hips feel like you could balance a cup of tea on the low hip area there, then we're going to go for a twist. So keep those hips level. Take your left hand to your thigh, right calf, or right ankle, but make sure the hips stay level. And then you're going to lengthen your heart forward and gently twist and look over your right shoulder. So that's the trick, is making sure one hip doesn't pop up when you do this. And then remember to breathe. And if this is feeling really good and your hips are level, then you can take your right arm to the ground above your head, and that can actually help with stability as well. You can look under your right armpit and breathe here. But keep using your legs. Squeeze into the midline with your inner thighs as if you're squeezing a block between your thighs. Lift your kneecaps. Use your front quadricep muscles to lift up. Make sure you can breathe. All right, come back to the center. Let's go for the other side. Right hand anywhere to the leg. So what you're going to do first is bring that right hand to the ground or the block, left hand to your low back and sacrum. Make sure your hips are level. Once you've got your nice deep forward bend, then you take your right hand to any part of the leg. Keep the hip level. And then gently tug on that left leg. Look under your left armpit. So your left arm can go up, or you can keep your hand on your hips. And if that feels pretty good, you can also take your left hand over your head to the ground and gently tug on that left leg. Big deep breaths here. All right, unwind. Bring your hands to your hips, bend your knees. Big inhale as you come up. You've been low for a while, so make sure you breathe, inhale, big deep breath so you don't get dizzy. All right, so we're going to go into a triangle. We're going to add a little bit of effort into this one. If you have some tight hamstrings, you may want your block nearby. So you're going to turn your right toes toward the back of your mat. And I'm going to put my block behind my right ankle, to the outside of my right ankle. If you're pretty flexible through the hamstrings, you don't need the block, but it is useful at first. So take the arms out to the sides. And then just check your right knee. Bend your right knee a couple times. Make sure your right knee is lining up with your middle three toes. So you're creating a little bit of an internal stretch here. These inner thighs are having to stretch a little bit more. In order to keep that knee lined up with your middle three toes, you're tacking your outer right hip back a little bit. So notice that knee, because as you go into your triangle, your knee loves to roll in. So reach through the right-hand side. Bring your right hand down to your shin at first. Take your left arm toward the sky. So basic triangle here. And then lengthen your rib cage. So that right rib cage tends to kind of collapse here as you go into triangle. Try to get some more length through the right rib cage between the right hip and the right bottom of the right rib cage. Once you're here, bring your right hand either to the floor or to the block. And you are absolutely invited to bend your right knee a little bit if you want to try to get your hand down to the floor. So once you've got your hand on the block or on the floor, put some weight into it, and we're going to create a little bit more of a plank posture here by toe heeling your right foot off the mat. So I'm toe heeling my right foot toward you, and you get a little side plank here. Now press down into your left foot a lot more firmly, and then see if you can lift your right leg up. And that's pretty tough to do, but it's worth playing around. And then if you happen to have the flexibility, you can grab that right foot with your left hand and kind of play with that. Two more breaths. All right, bend that front knee, inhale, come on up. Let's go for the other side. Turn your right toes in, turn your left toes toward the other short end of your mat. Take the arms out to the sides. Big inhale, drop the shoulders. Check that front knee, make sure the left knee is lining up with your middle three toes. So you're getting a little extra stretch to this inner thigh, and you're tacking your outer left hip back a little bit. And then reach through that left-hand side. Bring your left hand down to your leg. Take your right arm toward the sky and look over your right shoulder. And then really work on lengthening that left side. So your left hip is going to stretch back a little bit. Your left rib cage and left hip are stretching away from each other. Look over your right shoulder. Breathe deeply. Notice if your left knee is starting to roll in a little bit. See if you can roll it out and tack your outer left hip back. All right, let's try for the side plank, any variation. So if you want, you can bring your right hand to your hip at first, and then bring your left hand down to a block to the outside of your left heel or to the ground. You can bend your knee. And then once you have your hand on the ground, start toe heeling your left foot off the mat, coming to the pinky edge of your left foot. So you got that variation there. And if that seems okay, put some more weight into your right foot and put some more weight into your left hand to see if you can lift your left leg up. So a lot of inner thigh work here. And then possibly, if you've got the flexibility, grab that foot, but don't feel like you have to. All right, let it go. And then come on up. Bring your hands to your hips. Turn your toes in again. One more forward bend. Lift your heart on the inhale. Exhale, forward bend. And then see if you can grab any part of your leg or maybe even your big toes. So you can have your hands on your shins, your thighs. Any of these works really nicely. Roll the shoulders onto your back. Again, remember to relax here. Inhale, lengthening, squeezing your legs in the midline. Exhale, relaxing. Keep lifting your kneecaps. Make sure your front thighs are doing some work. All right, bend the knees, bring the hands to the hips. Inhale, come on up. Now turn your toes out. So a lot of names for this posture. Some people call it the temple pose, the goddess pose. So some people call it horse. So you're going to turn your toes out and come down to a squat. Bring your hands to your thighs. So if you're in this posture, it's actually really difficult to sit up really tall, and you may feel a little bit wobbly if you do that. Try. Tighten up your buttocks. See if you can stand up really tall here in this posture. But if you need to lean forward a little bit, that's okay too. So keep breathing here. See if you can drop your hips down to roughly knee level. Tighten up your buttocks a little bit. Big inhales, big exhales. So there's a variation where we're going to go up and down, and we're going to use some specific arms here. So when you come up, you're going to do arms up. And when you exhale, you're going to make a little fist, two fists, and squeeze your elbows together and pull your elbows back behind you. And then you're going to inhale, come back up, extend, and then exhale, sink down, make a fist, and pull your elbows back behind you. Let's do a few of these. Inhale, lengthen up. Exhale, sink down, elbows back. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, sink down. See if you can relax when you sink down. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, sink down, elbows back. A few more. One more. All right, bring your hands to your thighs, stay in your squat. Now lift your heels up. I like this one because it's an ankle strengthener. Take about 2 more big breaths. All right, drop those heels. Inhale, come on up, toe heel in, and then step up to the front of your mat. All right, gorgeous. So from here, we're going to come to the ground. Take the arms up on the inhale, look up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, stretch forward. And we're going into pigeon. Step your left leg back. Drop your back knee. Walk your right foot over toward the left hip or left hand. Just depends on your flexibility. And then you're going to come into your pigeon. This is a really lovely way to do pigeon. So if you have a block, putting your forehead on a block is very calming. It pushes into your pituitary gland and releases oxytocin. Breathe deeply here. If this is just not a good pigeon variation for you, you can always do pigeon on your back. So let me demonstrate that real fast. Cross the right ankle just below the left knee on the thigh. Lift your left leg up, grab the back of your thigh or the front of your shin, and gently pull in with your left leg. So this is a great one too. Even if that other variation is one that you feel fine in, this is a more relaxed variation, kind of rocking from side to side. So you can decide which one you want to do, but we're going to hang on here for a bit. So commit to something. And then remember to breathe. Big inhales, big exhales. Take a moment, check in, just make sure that you don't have any tension in your shoulders, that you're slightly zipping up your low belly, just a little bit.
add in a little twist. So if you're on your front side, you're going to take your left arm in front and right hand out to the side, lengthen the spine, and gently twist. If you want to go a little bit deeper, then you can bring your head to your block, and you may end up getting that left shoulder to the ground. And I like to take my hands together and gently press them together to help open up that twist a little bit. So this is a great posture. You can also not use the block and bring your head to the ground, but I like to have that block under. And then if you're on your back, same premise. So if you're crossing that right leg over, you can drop your right foot to the ground, and this is a really great gentle twist here. If you want to make it a little bit more intense in terms of stretch, you can take that right leg over, so you squeeze your legs together, and we're going to do eagle legs here. You'll bring your right foot close to your left thigh or left calf, and then maybe even wrap it around your left calf, and then just drop those knees. So this works out really nicely as well. You get that same twist. It just depends on you how deep you want to go in your twist. And then look over your right shoulder. And just pay attention. If you feel, especially if you're on your back here, if you feel a little bit of tugging or stretching in your low back, there's a really good chance you're overstretching your low back and need to get a little bit of a neutral curve in your low back. So if you happen to be on your back, stick your tailbone out a little bit, get a little bit more of a curve in your low back. That also goes for the front version. It's just not as obvious. It doesn't tend to tuck under as much on that facing the floor variation. All right, let's go for a pigeon on the other side. So if you're on your back, roll onto your back. If you're on your front, do a down dog. So if you're on your back, you'll do a little happy baby dead bug here. And once you're ready, you're going to go for left leg. So from down dog, lunge your left leg forward. If you're on your back, cross your left ankle just below your right hand of the thigh. Take your left arm through, grab the back of the thigh or the front of the shin, rock from side to side. If you're on your front side, find that block. Make sure that left knee is slightly outside your shoulder. You want to make sure your ankle is pretty straight, so either pointed or flexed or something slightly in between, but nice straight ankle. And then breathe deeply. Zip up your belly. Slightly engage your right thigh, whether you're on your back or on your front side. Just resist a little bit. So this is the tricky part. In order to get the left hip to relax, you need the right side to resist a little bit. So if you're a right-hander, you may notice that this left hip is tighter. So take some big, deep breaths. Unless you constantly work on this left hip, it'll always be slightly tighter since it's your stabilizing side when you reach and do things with your right hand, right leg. All right, let's go for the twist. So if you're on your front side, right forearm in front, left hand out to the side, look over the left shoulder, maybe even put your right shoulder on the ground, maybe even put your head on the block. Bring your hands together. If you're on your back, you can simply drop that left foot to the ground, but you can make it a slightly deeper twist by turning the legs into eagle legs. So just take a moment and experiment and breathe. Breathing is the most important part. All right, and then slowly come out of this one. So happy baby dead bug or down dog. Take a moment and walk it out or roll it out. All right, and then come to a seated posture. So we're gonna bring the bottoms of the feet together and open up the feet like a little book. And then once you're here, press the pinky edges of your feet into each other. And this is usually a pretty good indicator of how tight your hips are. If your knees are really high, then you usually have some tightness going on either in the inside of your groin or the back of the hips, and sometimes both. But it doesn't really matter. So what we're trying to do is just get those knees to eventually drop. But you want to make sure that you're doing this in a way that then you're not actively trying to push the knees down. You're actually trying to stretch the knees out to the sides. So push the feet into each other, press them into each other, and then stretch the knees out to the sides, and you'll feel a little opening up happening. And then you're going to sit up really tall. So many people are really tight in the hips, and sitting up tall is their forward bend. So if that's the case, just keep doing that. You can also, if you have a really round, tight low back here and tight hips, some people look like this, kind of rounding. If that's the case, you may want to sit up against a wall or the couch or something like that and just see if you can get your spine up a little bit longer. So you're trying not to collapse into the back of your hips here and round your back. Make sure this is your forward bend, trying to sit up really tall. And a wall can really help, or sitting on a blanket. So if you're a little bit more flexible than that, then see if you can go for a forward bend. And I like to kind of just swing gently from side to side because you've got some really tight muscles that come down through that low back and outer hips. And there's also that inner thigh area. So swing around, kind of just swing from side to side, breathe deeply. Eventually, forward bend becomes deeper and deeper, and eventually you get your chest down by your feet, your forehead to the ground, whatever works. So keep breathing and just find what works, but keep pressing your feet into each other and stretching your knees gently out to the sides, and they will drop a little bit. All right, let's go ahead and do a couple of boat postures, and we're also going to do another little core posture. So take your blocks to either side of your hips. So traditionally, when I started doing Ashtanga at a young age, there were no blocks. You just use the ground. So blocks are there for a little bit of mental, moral support, but the ground is fine. So you're going to find your boat, come into the back of your hips a little bit, grab the backs of your thighs, roll your shoulders onto your back, try to get that spine nice and long again. And then bent legs works really nicely. Straight legs is harder, and that tends to be where you kind of collapse here. Another variation is putting your hands behind you so you can keep that spine nice and long. So bent legs is a good way to do this if you feel like you're not terribly strong in the core. And then breathe deeply here. You can play with this in all different ways. So I like this variation if you really feel like you tend to collapse in the back. If you feel pretty strong, you can reach your arms toward your feet. All right, cross your ankles. Try to keep your feet off the floor and your knees up, and then press into the ground or into the blocks. Lean forward a little bit, keep your feet up, and see if you can lift your hips up off the ground. And then try number 2. All right, cross and lift. And number 3. And cross and lift. And number 4. And cross and lift. One more, number 5. And last lift. All right, One more Baddha Konasana. Bring the bottoms of the feet again together. Open up the feet like a book. Round your back this time. Bring your forehead towards your toes. Take a big, deep breath. And then take another. All right, and then come on up. So from here, we're going to go for a nice forward bend. It's also going to be a side stretch, so this is where your strap may come in handy. If you cannot reach your left foot comfortably with your hand, you're going to use your strap. So left foot's going to come forward. Right foot is going to come into your calf, your thigh, your groin, wherever you can get your right foot is fine. And then you're going to apply pressure. So right foot and left thigh press into each other. Right foot and left leg press into each other. And then you're going to take your strap, if you need it, place it around the ball of your foot, and you're going to press out through the ball of your foot into the strap. So this is a hamstring stretch, but think of this more as a lengthening the spine stretch. So as you press out through the ball of the foot, you're going to pull back with straight arms, and this is really important. If you're bending your arms, you're not really rolling into the shoulders and relaxing them the way you want to, and you're not really using your upper back very well. So keep your arms straight and then pull your arm bones back into your shoulder sockets. As you inhale, reach your heart up and forward. And as you exhale, see if you can bring your belly a little bit closer to your thigh. Inhale again, pull on the foot, press the foot out, pull your arm bones back in your shoulder sockets and reach your collarbones and heart forward. As you exhale, relax a little bit. Then we're going to add in a little bit of a twist. So as you inhale, lengthen the spine. As you exhale, gently twist your belly button toward your thigh and then relax a little bit. So eventually, someday you get to your hands to your feet, and someday you get your chest to your knee and your chin to your shin. But hamstrings are really, really tough. And one of the reasons why is they get really tight if they are reacting to imbalances in the rest of your body. If your posture is not very good, your hamstrings tend to get tight. So hamstrings, that's why we do a lot of hamstring stretches in yoga, is because there's usually something your hamstrings are reacting to, and they tend to get tightened up just because they're trying to stabilize you. So don't get too goal-oriented about the hamstrings. They will loosen up as everything else starts aligning properly. All right, so from here, we're going to twist. You're going to keep your legs exactly the same. Twist your rib cage toward your right knee. So now your left side of your body is roughly lined up with your left leg. Again, this strap can be really handy. So I'll show the full-blown posture, but then you may end up going into something that's a little bit shallower. So you'll grab your left foot with your left hand, take your right arm over, lengthen through the left side, drop your left elbow, and eventually grab your left foot with your right hand as well. But that's a lot of stretch through here. So you're still trying to lengthen through the left side, but if you're not quite that flexible, you're going to go for the strap around the foot. Twist your rib cage toward that right knee. Take that right arm over. Lengthen your left side. Try to get that space between your left hip and your left rib cage, and then maybe drop your left elbow to the inside of your left leg. And then gently press your left elbow into the inside of your left leg. Lengthen your left side and see if you can twist slightly toward the ceiling. Keep breathing, and you can play a little bit with this right hand. So the right hand can come to the back of your head, and you can push your head back into your right hand. That'll give you a little bit more length. Don't forget to breathe. Keep finding ways to lengthen your left side. And eventually, that foot will come down someday. But figure out, okay, how do I get my spine to lengthen out a little bit more? And how do I get my left rib cage to not collapse? Remember to breathe. All right, and then release. Let's go for the other side. Take your right leg out, bring your left foot in, press your left foot into your right thigh. Sit up tall, twist toward your right leg. Use your strap if you need it. Inhale, lift. Exhale, bring your belly a little bit closer to your thigh. Arms are straight. Keep breathing. Press out through the ball of your foot and pull back with your arms or with your strap. Either way, get those shoulder blades onto your back. Inhale, lengthen, reach your heart forward and get your spine longer.
As you exhale, get a little tiny twist towards your right thigh and relax your belly towards your thigh. And just remember to breathe here. So the breathing is super important. As you inhale, lengthen. As you exhale, relax. All right, come on up, and we're gonna keep the legs the same. Twist your rib cage toward your left knee. Strap a girl on your foot, or you can grab your big toe. And then inhale, lift. Maybe take that left arm up. Lift through the right rib cage. Twist your rib cage a little bit more to the left. Look up towards your left hand. And then see if you can drop your right elbow to the inside of your right leg or close. As you inhale, use that foot to pull your right rib cage a little bit longer. As you exhale, relax. And then you can play around a little bit with that left arm. I love taking my left hand to the back of my head and just slightly pushing back. Gives you a little bit more length through the spine. Breathe deeply. Keep trying to find length through your right rib cage. All right, come on out of this one. And we're going to do a quick shoulder opener. So let's go onto our bellies. All right, interlace your fingers behind your back. Roll your shoulders onto your back and stretch your fist closer to your feet. And then try to keep your feet on the ground. This is really difficult to do, but try to keep your feet on the ground. Roll your pubic bone toward the ground, zip up your low belly, and then see if you can lift your chest up and possibly your arms. And those toes love to pop up, but try to keep them pressed down. All right, release for a moment. Make a little pillow with your hands. Turn your head to one side. Completely melt into the ground. Let's do another one. This time, grab your hands behind your back with the non-dominant grip. So interlace the fingers again. Put the other thumb and first finger on top. Stretch your fist towards your feet. Keep your feet touching the ground or trying to touch the ground. Lift your chest up. Roll those shoulders down your back. Pull the belly in. Pull the front ribs in. Try to roll your pubic bone toward the ground. Keep pressing the toenails into the ground. All right, release. Make a pillow. Turn your head the other direction this time. All right, we're going to use a strap for this next one. So if you were super flexible, Cirque du Soleil, then you would grab your feet behind your head. That really would be more appropriate in the afternoon anyway, not in the early morning yoga class. So what we're going to do is use a strap. And what's important about the strap, stay on your belly. But what's important about the strap is that you're going to make sure your elbows are pointing straight forward. They're going to have a tendency to kind of roll out to the sides. So keep them pointing forward. You're also going to drag them down a little bit. So the tricky part right now is trying to get your strap around your feet. That's actually, I'm going to make it look easy. It's not that easy to do this
It takes a little bit of coordination, and it's kind of hard to figure out where your feet are. So once you get your strap around your feet, you're going to flex your feet to keep the strap on your feet. Then you're going to pull your elbows forward and point them forward and slightly down. And then once you have that, you may even want to wrap the strap around your hand once just to keep the strap from sliding. Then once you have that, pull those elbows down, and then you're going to push your feet against the strap. Pull your belly in, pull your front ribs in. Keep trying to drag your elbows down and into your arm sockets. So super important that you're pulling your belly in, pulling your front ribs in, really activating your core and not letting your body bend too much. All right, let that go. Make a little pillow, turn your head to one side. Big deep breaths, remember to relax. All right, and then one bow. Bend the knees, reach back, grab the top of the foot or the ankles, and then squeeze your legs into the midline, and then push. All right, release, make a little pillow with your hands, turn your head to the other side again. Take some deep breaths. And push back to child's pose. All right, you have a lot of variations that you can do for your Shavasana. After back bends, I like to place a block under my hips at the lowest or medium level and just let my hips hang out there, getting pretty close to the tailbone, so really low on the hips. You can also take your block low and go legs up against the wall, and you could literally actually use a wall here. Or you can just do regular Shavasana. But take a moment and just relax. Methodically go through your body. Let go of any tension. Start at the toes. Let go of the tension in the toes, the arches of the feet. Traveling through the ankles and the calves. Release tension in your upper thighs, your lower thighs, your hips. Spend some extra time in the hips, relaxing the hips down. Relax your belly, your internal organs. Relax your spine. Move up the spine one vertebrae at a time, relaxing each one. Relax the rib cage. Move through the ribs from the floating ribs at the bottom up to the top. Relax your shoulder blades, upper arms, elbows, forearms, wrists, palms of the hands and fingers. And then move to the 7 vertebrae of the neck and relax the neck and the face. Relax the cheeks, the jaw, the tongue. Smooth the lines out of the forehead where the eyelids can relax as well. Relax your scalp. And again, I invite you to continue moving through your body and relaxing, finding those spots that maybe you need to move over one more time from the toes to the fingers to the face. See if you can spend another 5 or 10 minutes here. If you do need to get up and go, though, bring your hands into your heart center. Pay attention to your breath. And then ask yourself, during this day, what can I do to let go? Maybe it's something in your life that you're holding on to tightly. Maybe it's just your breath. And bring your hands up to your forehead for kind thoughts, down to your lips for kind words, and down to your heart center for kind intentions. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.